Today we're reviewing the Ronin-SC. I've traveled a month and a half with this thing in over 5 countries, touring with the Chainsmokers and hang out with my friends on the Yacht Week in Croatia. And we're gonna go through my favorite parts, not everything, but my favorite parts of this piece of equipment and why I carry it in my bag.
You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go.
There are a ton, I don't actually know, but I'm assuming there's a ton of reviews on this whole entire thing. I'm not gonna go into every single detail, but there are 3 major features that are no-brainers, why this video is being made and why I need to highlight this piece of equipment. I wanna bring more reviews to this channel and tell you guys about some of the gear that I'm really liking, and this is one of them. So let's get into the first feature, which is the locks on this guy. So basically, before on the Ronin-S, all the axes were always loose, even when it was off. And so when you were traveling or you try to strap this to the back of your backpack, it kind of flopped around. Where now, I'm just gonna take the camera off to show you guys this feature the best. But if you now lock all 3 of these locks, which there's one right there, they're kind of hard to find, but once you kind of get enough work or hours, you know, with this piece of equipment, you'll find them very easily, I'm sure. But basically it locks like that. And so when you strap it onto the back of a backpack, this thing isn't flopping around, where previously that's exactly what it did. It was like a mess, you know, like you would strap things down and then eventually it would flip over and it would loosen, and whatever strap you had in place would become basically ineffective, and it would just end up hitting a small baby on a plane probably, and it's just not good. So these locks are huge. It seems like a dumb small thing, but it's actually insanely helpful. They had this on the Osmo series, which was awesome, and I think they just integrated it into this model, which is great and makes the whole thing more travelable. It's also tiny, obviously we're not even gonna touch on that, but it's tiny, and so having it go compact and lock like this is so huge for a piece of equipment like this when you're traveling. Next thing I'm gonna talk about is the size of this thing. That's an obvious one, but I'm gonna talk about my personal experience and why I actually think the size is something noteworthy to my workflow and of importance to you guys. Obviously the size is like the #1, like it's smaller than the previous model, but the Ronin-SC is substantially smaller, and not like enough to be like, oh, it's up for personal preference. Like it's so much smaller that it actually fits into backpacks now, which before a Ronin-S always kind of had to be mounted on the outside, or you had to have a really big backpack and then dedicate a lot of lens dividers to fit this in, and it was really awkward and took up like most of your bag, where smaller gimbals on the market, you could almost slide into like a laptop sleeve of a backpack, and that's exactly what this can do, especially with it now being able to lock. So when you break this thing down, it actually fits really well into a backpack. And so I take this off, and then you could pop the battery back off, and it's that tiny. It's about the size. This handle is not even the full size of my hand, and this portion is about the size of my hand, a little bit bigger. But this right here can fit into, you know, lens slots essentially. I've been able to find places to fit this in, where typically in its previous version, the Ronin-S, wasn't able to fit inside my backpack. I always had it mounted on the outside, and it was flopping around, so I had no way to actually mount it on the outside of my bag, and so I ended up just always carrying it, where now I'm able to pack this away, and it is such a breeze. And it takes down a lot of the weight too on my back, so this is a huge plus and a win. What I appreciated about this whole downsize was that it wasn't just like a marketing scheme, it like was substantially smaller in a way that impacted your workflow. Sometimes things get small and you're like, I didn't need that to be smaller. Where this one, I was like, wow, this is actually extremely helpful. The next thing we're gonna hop into is a really cool feature, and my favorite one, because it changes the game for hyperlapses and so many other things. I think like the original concept of this feature was for things outside of hyperlapses, but what I used it for and what I like loved it for was hyperlapses, and this is active track. And this is a feature that they're bringing over, DJI is bringing over from their drones into now the Ronin-S, and basically what it enables you to do is connect your phone to on top of your camera and then access the Ronin app and then select an active track feature where basically your camera on your phone follows whatever you selected on your screen. So basically now with the Ronin-SC, I've had my phone out here for this specific reason. They give you this phone mount right here, and it enables you to stick your phone in and have it stay pretty steady right there, and actually really steady. And it also goes vertical as well, which is really cool. Actually, because I've been shooting stories at concerts with my phone like this while shooting on my main one. And then when I want to activate this feature called Active Track, I just pop it sideways and I go to the Ronin app. I select the Active Track feature. I highlight what I want my camera to always be pointed at, and I can kind of mindlessly walk around wherever I want, knowing that my camera is always gonna be pointing at the subject that I want. This is game changing for hyperlapses because that's exactly what a hyperlapse is. Traditionally, you would take a photo, take one step, and then reframe your shot to the same thing you previously had, and then take one more photo and then do it again. People have kind of been getting away with hyperlapses done on gimbals because it's stabilizing it for you and you don't necessarily have to be perfect. This right here makes sure you have an absolute perfect hyperlapse, and I tested this for the very first time at Tomorrowland in Belgium, and I walked around the entire main stage at soundcheck when nobody was there, and I kid you not, this was first try. I got a dialed perfect hyperlapse of this entire place without giving any effort. I was just walking around holding the Ronin-SC like this, walking around like this, not thinking about how stable I wanted it to be or if it was pointing at the right direction, and the Active Track did all of the work. Check this out. So the next feature that I'm gonna talk about is a feature that I haven't really used too much other than just practicing around my house, but I'm very, very excited to use it out in the field. And I think it's noteworthy here because I don't think there's any other tech right now on the market that's at this price point that's enabling you to do this. And there's a specific way that this is very valuable. I haven't had the chance to use it because I haven't had some other elements of equipment that I think you need for this feature to be valuable. The feature is called Force Mobile, and basically what it enables you to do is use your phone to control where the gimbal is moving. So if I move my phone to the right, the whole gimbal is gonna move to the right. And that is an amazing concept. What I would love for it to have is a live feed of your camera. That obviously requires cables to be connected and a radio signal to go to your phone, which isn't out yet. But had I had extra equipment to attach that concept and have an off-screen monitor, I would be able to sit at that monitor while a camera operator runs around following a subject maybe at a high-speed angle, or maybe he's skating while he's holding one of these and he doesn't have the capacity to really focus where the camera's moving or to the precision that you'd want it to be. I could stay standing in front of a screen that has a live view of what my camera's seeing, and then I would be able to use my phone to remotely move the camera. So how I would do that is I would go to the app and I would connect to the Ronin-SC, and you click on Force Mobile, which is so simple, and it immediately activates. Something from just playing around with it a little bit around my house is that you're gonna wanna turn the smoothness up to about 15 or 17, and this will basically add a lot more smooth motion to your movements versus making it super jittery and responsive, which is what you're gonna want in a lot of your films. This might seem like a very extra feature to have and that it's unpractical, but in the scenario that somebody's doing a high action activity and they're carrying this and they can't do the precision that you would want it to be, this is game changing. Basically like for commercial stuff where you have to get the shot perfect, this is amazing. And you can also turn the roll on and start moving your camera over to the side. There's a recenter button, which I think is great and super useful to have, but I'm super excited. This kind of tech is like exciting tech, but it's only amazing if you actually put it into practice. So I'm so excited to see the results we can get from this, because there's been so many scenarios where I am skating or I'm running or I'm jumping over something and I get the shot, but it's not exactly the way I'd want it to be. So getting another person involved, having them do the actions, and then me being able to stay static and make sure everything is framed perfectly, this is the feature that makes that possible. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, because it's been fun. This thing is amazing to have in your bag. It's so light, it's so amazing. I'm stoked. I love Ronin, I love DJI and everything they're putting out. My other review was of the DJI Osmo Action. It's another phenomenal piece of equipment made by DJI, and let me know what you guys want me to review next. We'll dive into that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go. You gotta let me go.